Hi, my name's Lizzie and I'm in Bristol in my design studio today, and I am going to talk you through how you might tackle a pile of clothes that you probably all have set aside, which all have slight holes and tears in them, which mean that you're not currently wearing them. This is something that happens just through normal wear and tear of your clothes, and it just can't be helped. But the important thing to do is to know that you can fix them and bring them back into an active part of your wardrobe. So I'm going to give you an introduction on lots of different ways to fix these things. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to this sparkly jacket. Now, I got this at a clothes swap the other day, and it was only when I got home that I noticed on closer inspection that there's actually a little tear in it. So I'm going to do this by hand, needle and thread. I've matched the colour up, but as long as it's roughly similar, you'll be absolutely fine. It's going to be quite invisible. Taking a double thread here, do a nice knot at the end. We're going to work from the inside to make sure that the knot we've made isn't going to be visible. And then what we're going to do is just bring those two sides of the holes together just with a couple of stitches. A couple more stitches. There we go. And then we're just going to tie that off. So make a loop, pop the needle through and pull it out. And then do that again, make sure it's nice and secure, like that. And then cut the rest of the thread off. Really quick fix. You now can't see the hole at all. On the inside we've got a tiny little scar, but it will stop that hole getting bigger and means that you can wear it. This is a beautiful wool jumper that's not been stored correctly, and what you can see here is moth damage. So this is a really common problem. Moths lay their eggs on our clothes if we don't store them properly over summer, which is when we're not really wearing our knitwear, and it's a time of year when the moths are most active. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do a simple knitwear darn. Again, I'm going to just take a few stitches. Now for this, you actually need a thicker type of yarn than the one I've just used. So I just used a standard cotton thread for the last one because it was a small hole. But this is on a chunkier knitted jumper. So this is a piece of darning yarn which you can source from any haberdashery, or you could use a wool if you have any leftover wool from a previous project. I'm just going to do a single thread on this, and I've used a much chunkier needle here because it's not going to damage the knitwear at all, and it's going to be much easier to work with this. In fact, what I'm going to do, rather than knot it, just to make sure that I really catch it in, I'm going to take the hole on the edge there. You can see my finger goes through it at the moment. So I'm just going to put the needle in like that, and as it nearly comes through, when it's just near the end, I'm just going to tie a quick knot. It's a really good way to secure into knitwear so that the thread doesn't come through. The method of darning is essentially rebuilding the structure of the fabric to fill in holes. So you actually want to be working from the top side of your cloth, and you're working on either side of your hole. You're just taking a few stitches on either side, and then you're bridging over the hole, over the gap there. So you can see me just working on it. What often happens when you've got holes in knitwear is you're left with quite a gap in the fabric. So in order to, rather than pull it out of shape by stitching it together, actually what you're doing is building up the thread. You can actually just tie it back onto the loose bit of thread from where we tied it on if you want, or you can just do a normal tying off. So I'm just going to knot that back on. And you can see now from the front that there's no hole left. You've just got a few marks where the yarn is. That would just need to be, you just need to finish off and do the rest of those holes. So that's looking at knitted garments. Now I'm going to show you a common problem that you might find with a woven garment. This is a shirt here, and on the back of the neck it's got a little tear which has gone through, and some of the fibres have pulled apart, and we've actually got quite a big hole. Now to deal with this, what we actually need to do is put a little bit more reinforcement behind the fabric. So what I've done is I've taken a scrap of similar fabric. Now this could be something that you have got in your sewing box, something from an offcut. It really doesn't matter. The closer you can match it to the fabric, the better, but you can get away with quite a lot of things. And a piece of Bonder web here, which is a transparent glue, which you can buy from any haberdashery. It comes with a little piece of non-stick with it, and you actually layer your glue onto the fabric, and then we can glue it into the back of the garment. Now I've done this already on this garment here, and you can see I've ironed it on in place. So on the inside now we've got a reinforcing patch, and that means that when we sew this up we've got something to actually work onto, otherwise we'll be left with a hole. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take away any loose threads. So you can see here these dark threads, these have been exposed from the hole being made. So I'm just going to trim those away to make a really nice neat finish. I've threaded the machine up just in a kind of nice neutral grey colour, and I'm just going to put it under the machine. I'm going to turn it on, and all I'm going to be doing is just sewing backwards and forwards on top of my patch over where the hole is to create a reinforcement. This isn't going to be an invisible repair, but it is going to hold it and stop this hole getting any bigger. So forwards there, and just backwards and forwards using the reverse setting. So you get used to this, you can go quite fast. So what we are left with at the end, once I've taken my loose threads away, is a really strong reinforcement from the top. So you can see, we can still see where the fault was, but now it's not going to get any bigger, and you can really build up with the grey thread and colour that in. And on the inside you can see we've got that reinforced patch. Now that's a really small repair I've done, but this is an amazing technique for dealing with trousers. They work, they come back into your wardrobe, and again we've done it. This is another really common place to get a fault in a trouser is along the inside leg seams. And again, we've just used a reinforcement with a piece of denim on the inside, and you can see how that's created some extra strength. So the final repair I'm going to do in this series is to show you how to do something that is a little bit more covered up and chic than the last technique I showed you. So if you had something like a smarter jacket that had a hole in it, you might want to actually do a patching technique to keep it nice and neat. So this is a lovely blazer, but as you can see it's just got a snag in the elbow, something really easy to be done. You just catch it on something and it leaves it in a situation where you're not really going to wear it. Now you can source really easily from haberdasheries pre-made patches, or you could make elbow patches out of anything that was felted or tightly woven. So all you need to do for this technique is just pop your hand inside the sleeve so that you can get your hand between the two sides of the sleeve, and then you just need 4 pins. So we're going to pin it in each 4 quarters just to hold it in place. Now it's really advisable once you've pinned it to try it on, just to make sure that it absolutely does fall right on your elbow and it's nice and straight. I'm just going to get my light in the right place, and we're going to go in from the top of the shoulder rather than from the cuff, because we've got more space to maneuver there. So we're going to lift the foot up on the machine, and we need to work all of that fabric in till we get to inside our sleeve to where our patch is, and we just need to negotiate the lining by keeping it as close to the outer fabric as possible. Just as usual, couple of backward stitches to keep it nice and secure, and then it's very simple, just sewing round but keeping all of the excess fabric out of the way. Take your pins out as you go, you don't want to sew over your pins. So it is a large amount of material to keep moving out of the way, so just take your time and just keep slightly moving it. As you're sewing around the panel, just keep that bulk of excess fabric out of the way. So I've chosen navy just to match the navy jacket because I like to wear this for quite smart occasions, but if you wanted to do something a little bit more creative, you could go for like a tweed on a plain jacket or a plain patch on a tweed jacket. So I don't think it matters that if whether or not they exactly match, and you know, they're often sewn on new garments as a style feature. Just back to where we started sewing, and I'm just keeping the stitch line nice and near the edge of the elbow patch, about ½ centimetre in. It's up to you really, that's just whatever's easiest for you. So I've just done a back tack, and now I'm going to cut the loose threads, and here we have the elbow patch sewn on. So it's got a really nice suede texture against the jacket, it's held in place, and that's going to support the sleeve of the jacket, make sure that the hole doesn't get any bigger, and mean that you can start wearing it to meetings and back into work again.